My 48 male, older daughter, 24, gave birth to her fourth child 6 months ago. They were using birth control, but it failed. She used to work as a dishwasher, but due to health issues stemming from her second child, chronic back pain, and then her third child, the after effects of a broken tailbone and more chronic pain that made standing and moving around hard, she can no longer work. She tried her best to get an office temp job, but after about a week, the woman supervising her said, "This isn't working out." She was a very uptight woman who claimed that just because it always took her 3 days max to train everybody else in the data entry work, she couldn't just be a good person and accommodate slower learners. That woman likely caused her to get a bad reputation at the temp agency, and she didn't get hired anywhere else. My daughter's boyfriend, 28, works at Walmart. He had many more hours when she was pregnant, but since then, his hours have ebbed and flowed. He said he would take a day in the future to look for jobs, but it's the holidays and he's busy with family. I feel a lot of empathy for my daughter and her boyfriend, and I wish I could help them out more, but I'm a single mom working for a nursing home where I struggle to get full-time hours, and my ex ran up a lot of debt in both our names and is now living in another country. My younger daughter, nearly an adult, has a college fund. The amount in it would be enough to pay a large amount of a 2-year community college tuition, given the scholarships and grants she'd likely get. She's applied to 4-year universities with the understanding that she'd be taking out loans and working, so she's deciding between 4 years and community college. The other shoe dropped after my oldest daughter's landlord found out that they were having their boyfriend's brother and girlfriend living in their 1-bedroom in exchange for them helping with the rent, and they got evicted. My daughter agrees it was wrong to lie to the landlord, and both parents were depressed because her boyfriend got a job offer 1 state away, and they'd have to move from their support network. They came to me asking for help so they could have more time to find financial stability here. I was torn, but seeing my grandkids, I knew my duty was to care for the most vulnerable in the family. So I'll be making calls to liquidate my daughter's college fund, saying yes to understanding the penalties, and telling my daughter this. She got very cold and said, "You always brag about having a good memory. I hope you remember this moment then." She hasn't spoken to me since, and spent Thanksgiving inquiring with family and friends to see if hospitals are keen to hire college students for the kitchen or reception or anything. She made some cryptic post about how she hopes she'll be grateful one day that she won't have the privilege of studying anything outside of something technical because she needs something where she'll always be able to find a job. Am I the idiot for sacrificing my daughter's college fund because her sister just gave birth to her 4th child? This is your youngest telling you that if you or your fecund firstborn need any help in the future, expect to look elsewhere. People who have 4 children don't have the luxury of dipping out of employment when they feel like it, especially during the holiday season. You're penalizing the highly functioning minor daughter for other adults' selfish and foolish choices. You are the idiot. Personally, when I heard tailbone broke and can't hold a job down for longer than 2 days, I assumed sugar issues. Nowadays, it's probably unfair, but I've seen it way too many times. A temp agency isn't going to blackball someone without an excellent reason, especially now. I hire temps. They're made of solid gold right now. One thing that will blackball you is drugs or alcohol, or extreme insubordination, either of which is a luxury this woman cannot afford. And OP says that they were using birth control? Clearly not well enough, since the daughter's 24 with 4 kids she can't afford. And the boyfriend will start looking for another job later, at some point because he's busy with family for the holidays, yet his hours are reduced. What a bogus excuse not to look for a better job or more hours somewhere else. Seasonal jobs are so easy to find, and now's the time they need help. They're willfully unemployed or underemployed. Seriously, wow, lady, you've got this completely backward. You're rewarding the daughter making poor life choices at the expense of the daughter who's trying. Caring for the vulnerable is fine, but you can't care only for the vulnerable. By doing so, you're unwittingly incentivizing your children to keep failing. And they're vulnerable by circumstance and vulnerable by life choices. All the elder daughter's problems are self-inflicted. I guarantee that baby number 5 will be on the way soon. My 29 male girlfriend, Sandra, 29, and I have been dating for a while now. She invited me to have dinner with her parents, and I said yes. Before I could arrive, though, she asked me whether I'd like any vegetarian options. I told her that I'd prefer non-vegetarian stuff. She agreed to inform her parents about it. She later texted me to confirm that there would also be non-vegetarian options. This was a week before the date of the dinner. I arrived at the house and she told me the food would be vegan. She said a friend of her father's along with his son would be arriving that day from somewhere else. It was a surprise visit. They asked whether they could come, and my girlfriend's family said yes. As they're vegan, they decided to change the cuisine. I was very much annoyed at that, but I kept my silence. The discussion was mostly turned towards them, and they also barely seemed to recognize I was there while they all had fun. At the end of the dinner, though, her father actually said, "We have to discuss something in private together, so perhaps you can leave our house now." I got fed up and told them, "Oh, sure. You asked me what I'd like to have, bushed that out at the last moment, and then hardly pay any attention to me before essentially asking me to screw off at the end. I'm disappointed in all of you. You guys are terrible hosts." That resulted in a massive argument, while Sarah accused me of not being accommodating, that I'm a child, and that I should have been grateful I was even invited, etc. But I wonder whether I did anything wrong. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You acted like a sulky toddler because you had to endure one vegan meal, and in the end, you threw an epic tantrum. If you felt offended or disappointed at their hosting, you still should have kept your mouth shut and your feelings to yourself, and maybe talk to Sandra about it later. Your behavior towards them was actually worse than their transgressions. I don't know if you cared if they liked you or gave a good impression, but you certainly did not. Maybe you can recover a bit if you apologize, but most likely, you've just cemented yourself in their minds as hugely entitled, unappreciative, condescending, rude, and moron. I go with everyone's the idiot here. What a weird dinner party. Eating vegan food for one night is not the end of the world. I usually find 1 or 2 soy-free, allergies, dishes to eat. I certainly wouldn't pout about it. Your girlfriend's father was rude when he asked you to leave. However, I wouldn't have thrown a tantrum. I'd leave and decline any further invitations if it was an unpleasant evening. I disagree. The girlfriend specifically asked him what he'd like. Then they completely changed the menu the day of with no warning. The entire evening, OP was ignored by everyone, despite him being a guest as well. The father basically said, "Yeah, get out now. We need to discuss things privately." No, I agree 100% that they are a terrible host. If OP had been told all these things in advance, he likely wouldn't have minded, but they didn't. No, OP, you're not the idiot. However, you very likely just bombed your relationship with your girlfriend. Background: my girlfriend, 25, and I, 26 male, have been together for over 2 years, and we've lived together for 10 months. Last weekend, my parents stayed at ours overnight on Saturday due to a wedding they were attending nearby. The wedding was to be late in the day. The ceremony was to happen at sunset, and there was a reception afterward. I live only a few kilometers from the venue where the wedding was taking place. My parents asked if they could stay over on Saturday night, as they live approximately a 45-minute drive from me. Rather than drive home late after the wedding, they asked me a week beforehand if they could stay at mine and leave on Sunday morning. I didn't see an issue with having them for one night. This is where the problem happened. During the visit, my mom commented a few times on the state of things and how it looked like we hadn't cleaned. I didn't think it was bad until my mom started pointing things out to my girlfriend, but I did agree with my mom. It wasn't a fit state for guests. Now, this is where the problem happened. I work in marketing, so my job is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays. My girlfriend works in the fire brigade, so she works rotating shifts and not just business hours on weekdays like myself. She worked until the Thursday night before my parents came to stay. She was off work on Friday, but even though she knew my parents were coming to stay, she didn't tidy up or prepare. I was embarrassed once Mom started bringing it up, and now my girlfriend is angry with me for not defending her to my mom and has gone to stay with Iran and is not talking to me. She says that I didn't notice anything wrong until my mom kept pointing it out to her. Then I should have defended her to my mom and also not let her take all the blame. I've pointed out to her that she was off on Friday before they arrived. However, she said, 1, I work from home, whereas she doesn't, and 2, they're my parents, and I didn't ask her first if they could stay. She was unexpectedly called back to work on Sunday because one of her colleagues was sick and was in isolation, and my girlfriend was needed in his place. She's been angry since she left on Sunday and was even short with my mom, even though my mom was just trying to help. Who's right here, me or my girlfriend? You are the idiot, dude. Better yet, you knew your parents were coming, and you could have prepared your apartment as well. Why would your girlfriend be expected to prepare for your parents? Hopefully, your girlfriend has seen your true colors and will act accordingly. Exactly. OP is the idiot. Not just because he allowed his mom to bully his girlfriend, but because he didn't even realize his mom was being a misogynistic idiot. In fact, he sounds like a misogynistic idiot himself. Imagine working from home and not taking the time to clean before your parents come. On top of knowing your partner's working a demanding job with long hours, yeah, she had a day off, but tell a nurse they should tidy up the house more after they get off a 12-hour shift and see how that works out. But he works in marketing until 5 p.m. How would he be able to manage a responsibility such as cleaning up his crap? Wow, man, baby. If I was OP's partner and had spent the week doing her job, I would not be cleaning for his parents' arrival either on my day off, especially when it's likely he's been the one making the mess all week. Of course she's angry. You complete douche canoe. You let her take all the blame for having a messy house. If you invited people to stay, you should have cleaned beforehand, and when that didn't happen, you should have shouldered all the blame. Duh. Is your girlfriend or your maid? You're a grown adult. Clean your house. It's not her sole responsibility. My 32-year-old husband, Keith, got hit by an intoxicated driver about 10 months ago, and he's now paralyzed from the hips down. We have 2 daughters, a toddler and a kindergartner. It's been really hard on him, and he struggles with depression. Luckily, he works at a desk job, so he doesn't have to worry about his employment, but it's really affected him in other ways. He can't play with our girls the way he used to. They still love him to bits, but he feels guilty. He also can't enjoy many of his old hobbies. We got him a good therapist, and he's improving every day with my and all our friends' support. He's had bad issues with his family in the past, so we don't communicate with them. He's gotten along with my family very well up until now. I have an older brother, Adam, 35, who's also paralyzed in a wheelchair. He was driving while intoxicated when he was 21 and crashed. He dropped out of college and now lives a very isolated life with our parents. He spends most of his time playing video games. He does a bit of online work every now and again, but is primarily unemployed. Sometimes I wish our parents would encourage him to go out more and make some new friends, but I know I'll never fully understand what he's going through, so I don't comment. I didn't want to make him feel worse. In the past few months, my husband and I have visited my parents a few times weekly for dinner. He's feeling better now, and they only live a couple of blocks down the road. Plus, they love to see the girls. My brother joins us only occasionally. Over the past few dinners he's been present at, he keeps making weird and rude comments. It started about a month and a half ago when Keith commented on how he was thinking of returning to our local gym to work out his arms. Adam said something about how maybe I should just buy some at-home weights for him because people would mock him in the public gym. It got awkward, and my mom quickly changed the subject. At the next dinner, Keith talked about how his friends organized a little fishing trip with him at a nearby lake in a few months. Adam chuckled and said he hoped he had fun at his pity party. I was going to tell him how rude that was, but my dad shushed me and quickly asked our daughter something. Adam's comments have been increasing over the past few weeks and have become unbearable. We've even been going to their house less and less. I've snapped at him a few times only to get a pathetic halfway apology. My parents keep saying Keith's accident has brought up a lot of old feelings for Adam, and he doesn't truly mean what he says. They kept saying they'd pull him aside one night and tell him to stop. It all came to a head a couple of days ago. We hadn't been going over there quite as often, but my older daughter had a ballet recital, and we went to my parents' house afterward for dinner. Keith was telling her how proud he was, but Adam cut in. He said that it was a shame that handicapped seats in the auditorium were in the very front because she must have been embarrassed. Keith sternly asked him what he meant, and he went on to talk about how he was happy he got paralyzed young because he didn't have to worry about embarrassing his kids by being a useless vegetable of a parent. I got furious and started to scream at Adam about what a bastard he was. Keith has been doing his best to be the most incredible father he can be, do well at his job, stay social and happy with his friends, and is succeeding, which is more than I can say for Adam. Keith's accident was not caused by his own mistake, but he's found the strength to continue his life. I know Adam has been through a lot, but his stupidity made him what he is now. He can say whatever he wants, but everyone knows that he's the useless vegetable here, not Keith. It got dead silent. Our youngest daughter began to cry. I grabbed the girls and everything as quickly as I could and went home. I turned my phone off because I started to get bombarded with texts. The few that I have read are my parents tearing me up for saying such cruel things. They agreed Adam was out of line, but I had no right to say all those things. Apparently, he won't eat or come out of his room now. They banged on my front door a couple of times, but I haven't answered. Keith hasn't wanted to talk about it all that much, and I've heard him cry a couple times. Our daughters are confused. I don't even know what to feel. I wish I had just told my brother to shut up and leave instead of saying all those things. I love Adam, but I still get mad thinking of the awful things he said about my husband. A few of my closest friends have said that even though Adam was awful, he's had a tough life since his accident. I should have just bit my tongue and had my parents deal with him. They suggested I apologize, but then tell him how inappropriate and cruel he was. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Just because you're disabled doesn't mean you have a get-out-of-jail card for being an idiot. Your brother is a proper, jealous, miserable idiot and had it coming. Your parents also had plenty of chances to set him straight, but didn't because they couldn't help but coddle him. I hope your husband feels better soon. It's good to hear that you stood up for your husband. Keep doing that. And Adam needed a wake-up call. Mommy will spoon-feed him and tell him it's all his mean sister's fault. Adam isn't having a hard time because it brings up old feelings. Adam is having a hard time because your husband being happy and productive forces him to face the fact that his problems result from his attitude and not his circumstances. That's the more significant issue that needs to be addressed by the family unit and a therapist. No one is doing him any favors by accepting or enabling his bad behavior. I'm sorry your husband and kids got stuck in the middle of this. On a side note, I'm a dedicated gym goer 5 days a week, and your husband will not have anyone making fun of him at the gym. He'll get lots of high fives and tons of people telling him he's inspirational to them.